I've been into Attack on Titan for a while now, and if you're watching this, you probably have been too. Isayama really did something special and just wonderful with it. That said, I've noticed some inconsistencies, content, and details about Attack on Titan that points toward a different story. The story we almost had. This entire video is based off of theories and speculation with evidence. It's all really just to get one step closer to the original story of Attack on Titan. It wasn't until around a few months ago I became suspicious, especially after reading Isayama's one-shot and watching the 2 Japanese films, which weren't too well, but weren't entirely bad. Something wasn't right for sure, and basically, it's kind of like a gut feeling. And the fact that he took a 4-year-long hiatus clearly had a switch at some point. I came across several theories and ideas, but one specifically got my attention when searching for anything in the manga, for Annie Leonhardt's return. This post was done on Quora by a user named Austin Robustelli. I'm probably not pronouncing that right. Even if she does end up getting shoehorned back into the story, and trust me, that's exactly what is going to happen if she comes out of the crystal at this point in the plot, I think the mangaka just abandoned her character and any possible continuation for her arc that was there. This harkens back to a lot of things I've been seeing about the story and the writer as a whole for years now. I'm pretty sure Isayama drastically changed the plot at some point after the identities of the Colossal and Armored Titan were revealed. I'd go as far to say that I think the entire backstory behind Marley and / Eldia on the final arc after the 4 years of the time skip wasn't even planned. He then continues to say, I think it was added long after Isayama began Attack on Titan. Why do I say this, and how does this relate to Annie? Because think about everything we knew / were told up until that point. All the hints provided to us about the world outside of the walls. Most major characters having European or Slavic names. Jaeger being German, Jean / Leonhardt being French, Sasha being Slavic / Russian, and Reiner being English, Old Norman, and Old German origins, etc. Most locations within the walls having European names, Mikasa being described as a rare, possibly the last member of a foreign race of people not native to the region of the walls where they were the region of the walls. And that's actually shown in this scene. Now, keep in mind, they changed this later on. Only find this scene that I recorded on Netflix. I couldn't find it anywhere else. And when I found the same scene on other platforms, they were completely different. The geography of the landscape within the walls being highly reminiscent of Central and Eastern Europe. The architecture within the walls clearly designed after Renaissance / Victorian era Europe. The fact that characters have clearly distinctive features that align with their implied races. Sasha looks very much like a tall Slavic girl. She's even known as Potato Girl, as if to hammer this down. Eren and his parents look stereotypically German / Anglo-Saxon. Annie with that nose of hers looks like an animated, blonde-haired, blue-eyed French model you can see on Google Images. The beginning line in the song of the show's first opening is, in not-so-well-spoken German. There are dozens of hints and examples of foreshadowing in the first half of Attack on Titan's plot that practically yell out this story takes place in an alternate universe / post-apocalyptic Europe. And many of these details contradict the very idea that everyone within the walls belongs to a singular race of people like the Eldians, and if everyone there is an Eldian, why do they all have widely varying racial features as well as names clearly belonging to different languages? What makes a person an Eldian to begin with? I genuinely believe that Attack on Titan was originally planned to have taken place somewhere in a post-apocalyptic Central Europe, likely either France or Germany. But at some point along the way, Isayama decided to scrap that all in favor of original Holocaust-type story where Marley is in Nazi Germany and the Eldians were basically Jews. And in the process of this drastic plot change, several characters were pretty much just tossed aside because their original character arcs didn't mesh well with the new story direction. If this is true, then I would have to say that Annie and Ymir have suffered the most. Point being, Annie is just another one of the many Chekhov guns in Attack on Titan that Isayama never fired. Here's some examples from Isayama's one-shot of Attack on Titan that came out in 2006-2007. They show similarities in my evidence that Titans infect people. As we can see here, this one-shot doesn't have the wall. Instead, it has large trees like the forest in those images in the manga surrounding. They even bring up the fact that Titans can transform people, maybe possibly by an infection of a virus. The main character in the one-shot is also a Titan shifter of sorts. We find this out towards the end of the one-shot, after it's revealed the main character's father appeared, and that was when the men demanded him to remove his armor. Clearly a form of Eren. This leads to our next bit of evidence. In the Japanese movies of Attack on Titan, we find out in both films, by our viewpoint the characters, that the world once had technology. It was modern, and in this scene here from the second film, it's explained. This leads me to believe the initial plans of Attack on Titan didn't have a Marley, or at least didn't have the set plot it did now. I believe it was to be a post-apocalyptic world just like the one-shots, just like the films. I'm not saying the current Attack on Titan is bad or flawed. Isayama decided to make changes, and I am perfectly fine with the current route of the story. I wrote this script just before most of the recent chapters that came out. This script was written, I'd say, 4 or 5 months ago, before I was aware of the current changes and the new additions and chapters to the story. And I like where it's leading, but I would honestly prefer the original story that we obviously aren't going to get. Outside of really the main theory of this video, just to point out, he tied the Marleyans in pretty well. I mean, Marley, the Marleyans, the fact that after Ymir Fritz got her abilities, they had attacked, and the Marleyans were even mentioned as a rival tribe. So, and you actually get to see an image of her attacking them. It makes sense for her for the Marleyans to demonize Ymir Fritz and to come up with this whole devil thing of, the fruit. It makes sense for the Marleyans to be a rival tribe in the past, and Ymir Fritz is clearly seen attacking them now. So it makes sense for them to demonize her and write this story of her accepting something from an Earth devil. It kind of makes sense in a way. I guess you could say they're salty. They're changing things. They're manipulating people. But I don't really. I want more depth on the fact that some alien type thing, literally attached to her spine, and she just got all of the Titan abilities. And the other questions I have that are lingering are, why is there only 9? Why is there only 9 Titan powers? You think that there would be much more, so why would you limit them to 9? Where did the 13-year curse come from? It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, and I honestly think that the original story would have been better. But that's not to say there's anything wrong with this story. I'm sure Isayama will probably tie some knots in the future with these upcoming chapters.